Welcome to Battle Rankings.
Welcome to Battle Rankings. I'm Svetlana, and today I'm joined by Tim. With Tim.
Hi, Mom.
Today, I'm going to be making a list, and Tim is going to be making sure it's a good list.
Sure.
And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so let me zoom this up. Here are the requirements. It'll be red versus this will be for the side tournament for Masters. They're going to try and keep it red versus blue. We're limited to 2 formations, including allied formations. Limited to 2 nationalities for primary and allied forces. And I think the thing that's going to trip me up a little bit is having at least 1 non-motorized infantry, anti-tank guns, or artillery. Because I like to be able to hide in trucks.
I'll tell you what, I wish we would have had this episode before I submitted my list, because I definitely did not read the red versus blue matchup will be attempted. So I would have probably made some tweaks to my list. I already submitted it. So
I'm sure you could resubmit it.
That's okay.
I'm actually TO for that. Did you know that, Tim?
I thought that you were co-TO, or have you been promoted?
Well, yeah, co-TO, I guess.
Oh, well, hey.
Still a TO.
Still TO. Sounds good.
I'm sure nobody would complain if you decided to.
Sometimes we make bad life decisions, and I made a bad life decision there. I must live with it.
So are you gonna encourage me to make a list that it's not going to threaten you?
No, pretty much everything can threaten my list. I don't think it's very good, but I'm getting back to my roots on some German Panzer Grenadiers, so I think that there's quite a bit that could hurt my list, regardless of how I changed it up. So.
All right, well, let's keep things interesting then. So I guess to start out with, I'm going to start out with what is my non-motorized going to be.
Okay.
Because that way I can build kind of around whatever that asset is.
Okay. Right. Makes sense. So British, always a good nationality there. I think it's one of the hot nationalities with just being able to get a lot of armored cars on the table for pretty cheap. So you can build a pretty decent, robust formation and still have a lot of points left over for support. Whatever else you want to do, you have all the tools at your disposal after you get your armored cars in place. So definitely a good start there.
I'm going to try and make the screen just a little bit bigger. I think I'll start out with the command cards for the Royal Engineers, because I think they're good for the minefields.
Okay.
And they meet that niche of non-motorized requirements.
So I got to say, I have not, since the new British book dropped, I haven't really dug too deep into it. But looking at these guys, yeah, they got a good motivation, so they're going to be able to, unpin, keep moving towards the objective. Good last stand, so even if you lose a couple and they're right there on the objective and they just got to hold on for dear life, yeah.
Well, what I like is, since they're engineers, they have a bonus to them when passing minefields.
Okay.
It's
So is it that Pioneer special rule?
yeah, it's that Pioneer special rule.
Okay. Do they cross on 2s or 3s? I would hope 2s.
It's an auto cross here. Or what do you think?
Well, I'm sorry, with the minefields. In order to enter the minefield, do they have to enter on a 2 or a 3?
I'm
You'd have
trying
to have
to
the book
find
for that. Yeah, you'd have to have the book for that. I don't have the book. I just buy everything on Forces.
I do not have the book with me. I'm
All
sure
right.
John has it upstairs, but I don't.
Well, anyway, we know that they're better at crossing minefields than regular British schlups. So
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think it's a good start.
okay. And yeah, definitely adding that Piot for 1 point. What I like to do is I like to kind of break down cost per stand. So you have 7 stands for 9 points. So it's a little bit more than 1 point per stand. Normally, you throw in that Piot, that's actually cheaper than your 1 and change for the infantry. So it makes it a little bit more robust for a little bit fewer points. And the nice thing about having a lot of, multiple AT assets and multiple riflemen is that during the course of the game, if you see your opponent has a lot of tanks or he's mostly infantry, you can kind of start putting the hits rolling off on mistaken targets to either the AT assets if you don't need them, he doesn't have a lot of tanks, or on the rifleman if you see a lot of armor coming up. So I think that's included.
Yeah, and then while we're working on the engineers, I'm going to put some flamethrowers in there. It's just 2 points, and this will just add 2 flamethrower teams to my unit.
Okay. So again, 1 point per stand. That's less than what the base cost of the unit is. So yeah, good include. Yeah, for sure.
And then
so 24 points. Still got a lot of room to work with. I mean, armored cars are always a favorite for the Brits.
Yeah, and while I'm working on getting some armored cars, we'll get some matadors in there.
Okay.
It'll give me some artillery, or some extra firepower for when I run up against those tanks.
Sure. Now, before you hit go on this command card, if you go back.
Yes.
And you look at the Inns of Court Regiment, the Devil's Own. Quite a mouthful for a formation. So it's down at the bottom, middle down to, now it's in the middle, top. It's one of the red boxes.
This one?
No.
Oh, this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this could fill a role for your armored cars, and it already has Matadors included in the formation.
Oh.
Now, the only drawback to this formation that I can see as opposed to the other armored car formations is that you have to include the 2 DINGO reconnaissance patrols, but they're only 1 point apiece. So you're really spending...
I like having DINGOs in there anyways.
I agree, because they're only 1 point apiece for 3 armored cars. So they're basically mobile machine gun pillboxes.
Yeah.
So not a bad thing to have. And,
it fills that Matador thing that I wanted as well.
Right. So it makes the formation a little bit beefier. Yeah, I don't know anybody who takes a Little John, to be honest. I've never seen a Little John on the table.
I mean, so what's the difference between the Little John and the...
So it's 1 point more, and the only advantage is you get 1 additional AT. So you go from a 7 to an 8. A 7 is already pretty poopy, and an 8 ain't that much better than a 7, but it costs an entire point more. So you could really take, for the price of taking 2 platoons, or I guess 2 troops with the Little John, you could take 3 troops with just straight 2-pounders. So you get an extra 2 AT guns for the same price if you forego the Little John. I think it's not a good buy to go with the Little John.
Makes sense.
I have a very strong feeling that with this new book, Battlefront will be they won't be able to print armored cars fast enough.
Oh,
How fast people are going to buy them.
for the Bulge book.
Yeah.
It'll definitely create a need.
Yes. Now that there's 3 armored car formations that you can take, I got a good feeling that a lot of people are going to be taking even if you thought armored car spam was bad before, it's going to be awful now. It's going to be like a traffic jam of armored cars. I think some of our California boys, they're going to look at all them armored cars, and it's going to give them nightmares of 405 freeway traffic miles.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things where you don't want to make the rookie move of pulling out your infantry and just traveling around with empty cars.
Sure, right. So I would fill out the rest of the Daimlers also. For an extra 4 points, you get 4 more 2-pounders. Plus the DINGO included on top of that. Now, okay.
These other 2?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am. Oh my God. Edit that out. But anyway, now I've lost what I was going to say. Can't even remember now.
Something about calling me sir.
Yes, sir. That is correct. I can't remember what the hell I was going to say. Wow, I've got myself conflustered now.
Filling out the ends of the Quartz Regiment with the Daimlers.
Yeah, it'll come back to me, I'm sure. We will move on, and then I'll be thinking about something completely different. I'll be like, that's what I wanted to say.
Something about 4 more 4-pounders for 4 points.
No, like I said, I can't remember. It's gone now.
Oh, okay. It happens. So this fills out this, I think.
Yeah, I think that looks like a pretty good start for the formation there. We're only at 40 points. We got an infantry formation. We got armored cars. We've got 2/3 of our points to put in the tools.
Yeah, and I guess going back to the infantry, to bulk up the infantry, just this MCR body armor. And it just lets me re-roll a die if they fail a save from artillery.
Yeah, I think in a defensive scenario, where you're going to have your artillery on the table, just with how effective artillery is in version 4, you might want to increase the cards to 2 so you can get them on both your units. But I think this is really, even if you pass one of these saves.
I only have 1 unit for the. Oh, this is per platoon. Is that a whole company I grabbed?
Yes.
Okay.
If you, I think that you can add it as formation support if you just wanted 1 platoon of it. But certainly, if they make 1 save, if this MRC body armor saves you once, it's paid for itself. Since this infantry stands are a little bit more than a point, and you're paying 1 point for this card. So.
Yeah. So that puts me at 42 points. I'm just going to view this real fast.
Yeah.
So that's 2 formations. So with being limited to 2 formations, that does not include support.
Correct.
So definitely. I think I got some anti-tank. I think I'll go for Return to force. Return to force.
Mm-hmm.
Come down here to formation support.
Okay.
And grab some anti-air.
Okay, an interesting choice.
Or do you have any a different idea?
Well, yeah, okay. So British, British players normally have the auto include for the Achilles. It is the best, what I think is the best AT bang for the buck in the game. So
And which ones is that?
if you scroll up, right there, M10 late SP anti-tank troop, right below your hand. Go to the right.
This one?
Down. Yep.
Is that a support?
Yeah, that's just regular support.
Okay.
So in the D-Day books, they were just M10 17-pounders for 18 points, which were AT-14. And pretty much every British list that you went up against normally included 2. Just because they were so cheap and they were so good at what they did. So it was no-brainer to take them. They've got a little bit more expensive since they've gone up at AT-15. But, I mean, still well worth the points, I think, considering that the contemporaries of the Americans have Jacksons, which are AT-14 at 24 points. So for 2 points more, it's 1 less AT. Now, British can't do the seek, strike, and destroy, but still, you get hit by AT-15, you're probably not making a save. So I think still well worth including that in any British list, for sure.
So should I go with 4 or 2 then?
Oh, definitely go 4. For sure, go 4. Definitely at least 1 platoon of 4. We'll see what we get to if we have enough points for possibly a 2nd platoon.
So that puts me up to 64 points.
Yeah, we still gotta flesh it out a little bit further.
Yeah.
So just thinking about what you have now.
I got some recon. Got anti-tank. Got my infantry in there. And those 2 platoons are really good for holding down objectives.
Sure, definitely.
That's what I like to use them for, anyways.
Okay. Now, if you are, since you can only use the same stance twice, so you're going to have to use, at least you're going to have to maneuver once, whether you build this as a defensive list or an attack list. I think this is better suited for an attack list. So you're going to have
I like attacking, so yeah.
Okay. So chances are you will probably not be able to sit on an objective for many of your games. You won't have to defend them. So you have to think about being aggressive and pushing the objective, pushing the attack. And sometimes, hover it over the AVRE, sure. Sometimes infantry just can't get to the objective because of either, a lot of MGs. If you're playing Germans, they got their half tracks. They're all MG teams with rate of fire 3, 2 if they're pinned still, but they're still putting out a lot of fire even if their heads are down. So,
you said I have to be you said I have to have some something aggressive. So when I saw assault, I'm just like,
okay,
let's go.
You could. I mean, this AVREs clean out infantry very quickly for sure. The problem with them though is that they aren't very good at assaulting. You do only have 1 template though, so I don't know if there'll be points enough with your formations to be able to include another template. So if you'd like to include an AVRE as a 2nd template, I would say that is not a bad pick.
So what is the notes here for Bunker Killer? I don't think I've seen that before.
Bunker Killer, I gotta remember what the heck. Okay. So Bunker Killer doesn't. It's not a rule that is applicable to tournament play. So if you were playing a D-Day specific scenario where there's like legitimate bunkers, like concrete bunkers, not pack nests with 88s or anything like that. I believe that just auto kills bunkers. But for, like I said, tournament play, you can ignore that. Brutal the opponent has to reroll saves. And petard is, I believe that is, there is no danger close for being next to your own troops. So normally in artillery unit, you have to be 4 inches away from a template. For this, they can be 0.1 microns away, and that's still far enough away not to get blasted by the AVRE. So a very good tank, honestly. I hate playing against them just because they're so effective.
So bunker killer doesn't work for like buildings if you're hauled down in a building.
That's right. So if bunker killer would not matter if you are in a building. However, if you are in a building with, let's say you got a couple guys on first floor, second floor, and the leader's up in the attic commanding the troops or whatever he's doing up there. You got 5 guys under the template right there, and with a brutal weapon, that would clean them out very quickly.
And that's usually what trips people up the most is infantry in buildings.
That is. I will say a lot of people, they like to, you're in people with infantry heavy lists. They like to pick the town to defend it. Okay. But problem is though, if you spread them out amongst the buildings, you don't have a lot of defensive fire. It's easy to move in on them for an assault. Or if you bunch them up tightly, then, one template can kill a lot of guys very quickly in a couple turns. So towns are a double-edged sword for sure for infantry teams.
And I think with towns, it's also really easy to get out of command if you're not paying attention. Because you're trying to haul a bunch of people up in one building over here, and there's not space for your command. So your command's in a different building. And I mean, that's probably one of the easiest ways to get out of command real fast is trying to hide all the infantry in buildings, and now your HQ is nowhere to be found.
Right. Yeah, you try to occupy all that space with the infantry. You get them in bulletproof cover and deny the enemy entry into the town or the city or whatever. And before you know it, now there's big gaps in your line, and you're checking when you probably still have half your guys left, but nobody's talking to anybody.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how, not necessarily this list, I don't have a whole lot of infantry to hide in buildings, but it's definitely interesting to see what tables are brought. And I know this list wouldn't do well in a town because there's so many vehicles, but
sure, you got the vehicles, you got the AVRE, you got the double flamers. So you got a lot going for you to really help you move some bodies from a city if you have to.
Yeah, at least I can get out of the city.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to look here. I have 23 points left to use.
Okay, 23 points. So now we got to start adding, a little bit of flavor here.
Yeah.
Let me look at. So we can get some Fortress Europe Churchills, some heavy Italy Churchills for 12 points. Let's see. What else could we get? The problem with British is there really aren't many cheap, other cheap templates that you can get that are like dedicated artillery systems. Like 25 pounders are pretty expensive. Sextons, pretty expensive.
So since I already have 2 formations, I'd have to go with an allied unit instead.
Okay.
Right.
Do you have the criteria up again, or can you bring that up quickly just so we can refresh ourselves here?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 nationalities, primary, and allied formation support. Okay. So it looks like limited to 2 nationalities for primary. Okay.
Yeah, so I can bring on an allied nation for a support unit, but I can't do an allied nation for a formation.
Yeah, I think that's what this is saying. Yeah. Okay. So now I guess we've got to talk about what kind of lists we think we're going to be playing against. If they are going to be spammy lists like these armored car lists, or if they're going to be more medium tanks. If we're expecting to see spammy lists, I think a platoon of American Shermans would do very well. AT-10, that'll clean up light armor really quick with the stabilizers especially. You're always rolling around. You're getting a bunch of shots even on the move. Decently protected with AT-6 or front armor 6. If you went to... And
I also have the chance for smoke because I didn't put a whole lot of mortars in here.
The Matadors do have a smoke template, so you at least have one template of smoke in case you go up against a German player who has King Tigers or Jag Tigers.
Right, but those Matadors are the only thing that I can smoke right now.
Right. Something to keep in mind, though, is direct fire smoke with, well, any weapon that has direct fire smoke, it doesn't act the same as a smoke screen. So they can still see through the smoke with unlimited range, but it is a +1. So,
and sometimes that +1 is...
Oh, for sure. That's all you need. Yeah. Rather than that, okay, now we can see how the points work out at the end. If you would like to include the 5 Shermans here, if we have 2 left over, we can talk about an alternative, which would be going to the Bulge Sherman tank platoon, which is a trained, it would be similar stats. Everything is the same. The only difference would be you would get a front armor 7 instead of a 6 for the entire platoon for 2 points more. So
which one? What?
So the allied unit, click the select button again. Clear that out. And then you go back down. It is, well, one of these for sure. Right there, it is M4 Sherman Late Tank Platoon. Yeah, right in the middle there, that one right there. So this, you still get 5 tanks. You still get the same stats. You do get a remount, a better remount, better front armor for 2 points more. So I think the better protection for the same, pretty much the same.
And I still have 3 points.
You would have, oh yeah, we're 95 points. That's right. Yeah. Got 100 in my head. Sorry. But yes, we still have 3 points.
So I can definitely use one of these options.
I mean, I would suggest a jumbo. We got 3 points, so we can put that 76 in there. And, the jumbo is going to keep that platoon alive a little bit longer. AT-12, even 88s with AT-14. You have a good chance to save against them. The British with that AT-15 Achilles, and I'm sure we're going to see good chance to save against that as well. So if you can...
Yeah, it bumps me from up to this one where the standard is here.
Yep.
With AT-10. So it's 2 extra AT just in that one, plus that little extra range.
Sure.
The no HE is, I guess, not the most useful. I can't necessarily go up against infantry at that point for direct fire, but
sure,
it's better than.
You still get the 50 though, so even if you don't have HE, you can still spray them down with a bunch of 50 rounds.
Yeah, and the stabilizer in the Sherman's really helpful because it doesn't, movement won't actually impact shooting nearly as much.
Sure, you still get that volume of fire.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what really makes or breaks do I move?
Right, right. Flames of War is a game of dice. So in my mind, I kind of have the mentality of, if I can roll more dice than my opponent, I'm probably going to win. So any way that I can get a fistful of dice every turn to roll, if everything's shooting, things happen. Magic BBs exist, and start to clean up a little bit on the table. He's left with a smaller force, and I still got everything on the table with less return fire.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think of this list? Fairly rounded?
Fairly well-rounded, for sure. Looking at the airborne Royal Engineers.
Sorry.
Did I go to mute? Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to change the view a little bit since we're...
Yeah, no
the
problem.
list is... I think this will be the list, unless you have any...
Well, the only suggestion, now this is for personal preference here, what you want to do. There are enough points for, since you're only required to have one foot platoon, you could drop the engineer formation, and you can just add a single platoon of Royal Engineers.
Okay.
You can still keep your flamethrowers. You can still keep your body armor, but in the end, you're going to be saving 13 points because you're going to drop one of those MRC body armor cards.
Make it support and bring in a different formation.
And you could possibly bring in additional tanks. You were talking about anti-aircraft. If you think planes are going to be a threat to you, normally I do not.
How likely do you think planes would come in?
Well, so honestly, I just ignore planes altogether. The 4+ to come in every turn. Okay, so 50-50, you're going to see them. They still got to range in. I really don't. I don't pay much attention to them. If they come
I don't
in,
even like bringing in planes or like fielding planes. But usually, John will make me a list, and he'd be like, "Oh, these," and I'm like, "Why are you giving me planes?
That's because
planes."
John wants to win, and he knows planes just don't pay off all the time. So
yeah, I'm just like, planes are unreliable. Why are you giving me planes?
I'm not a big plane fan, and I really don't plan to shoot them down either. With that 5+ to hit, and then they get a 3+ save. It's very difficult to shoot them down even with dedicated platforms. So, but if you like playing with the AA,
I like playing with being able to shoot things.
Okay, well, you could drop that formation and put in anti-aircraft, and there'd probably be some points left over after that as well. We could see what our options are here. We could just play around with some hypotheticals here.
Yeah, for sure. Let me.
What kind of anti-aircraft do the British even have? Oh, they got Bofors. Oh, okay. Bofors they're actually pretty good against light vehicles. So
or something that's like works as AA and.
Well, if you're looking for double duty AA and meat choppers, Bofors are definitely the way to go. They got an AT-7 with 4+ firepower and a good rate of fire.
And would that be a formation or a support option?
That is support option. So if you go back to the force there, scroll down, you can just see it peeking up. Go back up a little bit. It'll be top right of the gray units. So we could look at the Bofors SP and also the Bofors permanent mount, fixed mount. Okay, so let's compare here. We got 6 Bofors at 8 points, so 3 for 4. Unarmored tank team, so not great. They do have a gun shield, but that only increases the tank save. Okay, looks like the stats on the gun are the same as the permanent emplacements. Okay, so let's see what the cost is on a Bofors emplaced gun. So that'll be the Bofors Light AA troop right underneath the Bofors self-propelled AA. Yeah, right there. Okay, so same price. This has large gun. The other one had gigantic, so neither can ambush within 16. But anyway, the stat lines are the same. The save is the same. You can at least dig in the emplacement. So really, you're paying the same price. The gun probably has a better chance of saving because you can put it in bulletproof cover, but the trucks can, have the maneuverability, the speed. So it's whether you want better protection or you want maneuverability. I think if we're building this list for the purposes of attacking, you probably want to be able to get those guns into a position where they can light up, some other AT guns, some buildings like we're talking about, and then also when the Yabos come in, you can try to shoot them down. But I still think the stats on that is probably not that great. But
yeah, I don't think I'm too fond of. It doesn't pull double duty as well as other options, I don't think.
Well, I mean, they can still do pretty well. If you want to rib John a little bit, ask him about HS 129s and 50 cals. I'm sure that he'll get a kick out of that and probably yell at you a little bit that mentioned that. But yeah, I'm trying to go through the command cards for the British and see if they have the ability to upgrade the motorized AA to armored. But it doesn't seem like they do. So yeah, we had these guys back in.
Yep.
And
that'll leave me 12 points.
Yes, ma'am. See, I got it right that time. I didn't have to do push-ups that time. Oh wait, did you add the AA? I didn't see it selected.
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, we can still explore other options.
Ooh, crocodile.
Crocodiles, yeah, a little priced outside of your range here.
I am, unfortunately.
So, well, something to consider is, do you want to have the crocodiles or the AVREs? Because they have a very similar rule. The crocs are a little bit more well protected. They do have the 75 millimeter gun. So if they aren't burning out grenadiers from their holes, they can be shooting at panzers and stugs. But they are a little bit more expensive. So up to you on, whichever way you'd want to go with that. That's personal flavor. I think that they fill the same role.
I think I'll keep with the AVREs just because it'll give me a little bit more space for
the other fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's look at that land. Let's look at the land mattress. Just see what it's all about. Because honestly, I don't know. If you scroll down a little bit, the land mattress is that weird looking box right there that with all the guys huddled behind it. Okay.
I have space for one more formation. I can do a formation though.
Okay, it's going to be tough to fill. Okay, so we could do another armored car formation because those are cheap. I don't think that you'll be able to get another. I mean, you won't be able to get like another infantry formation or another armored formation. So we could fit in.
Right. But I do meet the need for one non-armored.
You do. Yep.
I meet that requirement.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to look at some armored car formations to potentially put in, that would be in the command cards at the bottom. Yep. And we could do the armored car squadron, or not these ones. I looked at these ones. These are just.
Oh, these are. Yeah, I forgot. These always have the front armor of like 1.
I don't even think they have any armor.
Yeah, or like they.
But I did see there's a really cool command card with these guys where you can deploy them in your opponent's or ambush them in your opponent's deployment area. So I thought that was like a really nifty I don't know, trick to have. But yeah, I don't think as far as like formation, these are worth.
Yeah, no. I forgot. Jeeps always look fun until you realize you look at their stats and you're like,
Until you're picking them up by the handful, yeah.
yeah, never mind. I picked off a whole entire unit in 5 minutes.
Yep. Let's see here. So yeah, we could do there's armored car squadron, and then there's also another one. Oh, RECCE squadron, which is all the way near the bottom in that same column. But we could look at both. And
You said a RECCE squadron?
yeah, the RECCE squadron right there, down at the bottom, red box. So I think this is the old. The RECCE squadron is from D-Day. This is the old D-Day armored car British formation that that everybody used to run. And the nice thing about the RECCE squadron, I guess it's not really nice now that you can get Matadors and the other formations, but you would be able to take mortars. You could take a template weapon with smoke in this formation, as well as all your armored cars. But with the Matador, I think it's kind of a moot point now.
I will add in the Piats after I see how these points stack out.
Sure.
Because I don't want to be. I know it's going to be close.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Okay, so yeah, something while you're clicking around here that I didn't notice before. I was saying that this is the old D-Day formation, but if you click on that Daimler Recon Troop again.
This one?
Yep. Interesting to see that you can now take 4 Daimlers, all 2-pounders, for 4 points. So that's a change from what it used to be. Before you could only take 2 Daimlers and 1 DINGO. So that's interesting to be able to see that you can now go full Daimlers. So something I did not realize.
And I think that is just, what do you want? Do you want the machine guns from the DINGOs, or do you want?
Do you want the extra AT?
Or do you want the extra AT?
So both the Daimler and the DINGO have machine guns. So let's look at the points here. 2 Daimlers and 2 DINGOs, as you have selected there, are 3 points. And then 4 Daimlers, no DINGOs, are an extra point for 4 points. So for 1 more point, you can get the same. If you're worried about crowd control for infantry, you're going to get the same number of machine guns out of both. However, for an extra point, you get 2 more 2-pounder guns, which, quite honestly, I think is worth it. If you're going to go with this formation, spend that extra point, get 2 more 2-pounders.
But I could only do that for 1.
You can only do that for 1. Well, let's see if there's some places where we could save a couple points. Let's look at the force and see if there's any way we can optimize.
I know I'm going to go over, but I'm just going to change this one.
Yeah.
Real fast. Return to formation. I didn't do anything fancy with this one, so I'll just go back to force. I think we added some of the.
Yeah, so we added extra Daimler armored cars. So we could probably drop a Daimler armored car troop from there.
Yeah, since we're already. We're already adding extra Daimlers in there anyway, so. We don't need that in there then. Add a DINGO for 1 point. And that would boost it up to the 2 and 2, so that'd be 4 for 2.
That would be 3 for 2 and 2.
Right, for 3 for 2,
Yep.
or for 1 extra point would be 4
Yeah,
for 3.
Yeah, I don't think that, going back to my, looking at the infantry, how much is the infantry going to cost? If I had another stand for a point, does the payout, is that a benefit? I don't think adding a dingo for 1 point is cost effective.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where we can fill out this one last point. I mean, I know we could throw in a lucky card.
Sure, right. What?
My thing is I always forget I have the lucky card.
Okay.
So I don't want to have it.
Yeah, right. Why have it if you're not going to use it?
Yeah, I understand some people are like, oh, I always bring the lucky card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to forget I have a lucky card.
Then you might as well just walk up to the table with 94 points. So when you win, you're like, I beat you with 94 points.
Yeah. I'd rather spend it on find a 1 point add-in somewhere. Something.
Well, why don't we look at your force, how it's built right now, and let's see if we can find some things to add. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Looking good. Okay. So we can the MRC body armor. We have to take that down to just 1 card.
Yes.
So that will save us another point. So now we'll have 2 points. And I think John just fell down the steps, huh?
I think the dog found in a very loud toy.
Okay. So now we're just printing money here.
Yeah.
We got 2 points to work.
She has a bunch of those really tough, heavy toys or whatever. She chews through everything. So it sucks to listen to because we only have hardwood floors unless we put down a rug somewhere. But even then, it doesn't really muffle out the noise. So those toys just hit the ground and it gets really loud.
Dropping a bowling ball, huh?
Yeah.
Bowling ball.
Yeah, it sounds like she's dropping bowling balls.
Yeah, no change to the flamethrower since it can only go on 1 platoon. So
yep. So
there's no change there.
Two flamethrowers for 1 platoon of.
Mm-hmm. So is the recon squadron, the RECCE squadron, is that filled out?
That's in here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the command card down at the bottom, the red box at the bottom. Yeah, filled out. 2 points. Can't really do much with. Okay, so you said
I can do this.
Yes. So you can put
arm any or all.
Mm-hmm.
So I can put 1 Piot with each of these.
Yep. And I think that's a good move because even if the Piot is targeted, you can still switch off to an unarmed universal carrier to potentially save the Piot.
Yes. And that just gives a little bit extra anti-tank.
It sure does. Yep. I have seen many Pioted universal carrier takedown Panthers in my time. And I'm usually on the receiving end of that, so definitely a good buy for 1 point.
So we'll view this again. So I think the support is really well filled out. A lot of anti-tank. We still have that engineer platoon in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only ish thing that I don't particularly like is that it's really hard for vehicles to hold down objectives.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I only have one infantry platoon to hold down the objective.
Right.
So I have to pick an objective and just.
Well, okay. So
dig in hard.
Oh, right. So if you are planning on attacking, if you do have to defend an objective, it's going to be in a meeting engagement mission like a free-for-all or encounter, dust up, whatever it may be. Your opponent is going to have the same issues as well. He's going to have reserves. He's not going to be able to have everything on the table. And the nice thing about having these British AC platoon or companies, the armored car companies, is that you can get a lot of platoons on the table. You're going to be able to out-deploy your opponent. They're very difficult to hit since they're scout, especially if you have them in concealment around the objective. So even if you don't have a lot of firepower at first, because you got to put the Shermans in reserve or you got to put the M10s in reserve or whatever, you can definitely hold out and withstand that initial assault before the big boys get on the table. So, and if your opponent is pushing, he is probably going to be very weak on his back line. So once your reserves come in, take care of the threat that's in front of you, you can push out and probably do pretty well on assaulting and engaging him off of his own objective at that point. So yes, this is not a defensive force. You can dig in with infantry, but I think that it is still not unreasonable to think that you wouldn't be able to hold out for a few turns until reserves come on.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the M10s and the Shermans would be able to fill out a significant amount of those reserve points.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like the AVRE plus, what is it, usually 60 points?
Yeah, so it'll be for
60%.
It's 57 on the table and 38 in reserve. So even if you went with AVREs and Shermans in reserve, I think a Sherman is a good reserve unit because with the stabilizer, you can still come on and you're still rolling 10 dice. You got 10 dice,
Yeah.
Coming onto the table. So that's 31. You only have 7 points. And you could, pick some UCs or some DAIMLERs to be held off the table. 2 platoons of DAIMLERs right there. There's your 8 points. Everything else in your list is on the table. And that's a very hardy list to try to kill in 3 turns before your reserves get there.
Yeah, especially with only having 2 units off the table, because some of these lists, depending on how it's built out with reserves, if you need to have 60% in
60% on, 40% off.
Yeah, if you can only bring in 60% and you have a bunch of infantry, how much infantry are you taking off the table?
Yeah, right.
So having these big point numbers here or there cuts you from 3 or 4 units out of the off the table to 2.
Yep. I mean, that's why the Germans love those big cat platoons, the King Tigers and the 3 SS Tigers. It's easy reserves. Put 1 platoon in reserve and then everything else is on.
And that's really, it's beneficial to me and less beneficial to the opponent.
Sure, right. I think that's a very John Madden-esque way of phrasing it. Yeah, if we kill more of them than they kill of us, then we're probably going to win this football game today.
Tim's just here like, she's bringing this list to the open tournament.
Yeah, right. If we got to play, I'll just be like, hey, how about a 6-3 and we'll go across the street for some beers or something. Oh, you gotta stay there and answer questions. I'll go drink the beers.
Come on. I want to have this big aggressive list and then it's going to be like That's what you did with it?
This is the anti-my list. I'm running Panzer Grenadiers. Everything is light armor. I mean, you're just going to roll up and just blast me into oblivion. So we'll have a quick game. We'll have a quick game.
Oh, are you going to make sure Andrew pairs us?
Is he the one running the side tournament?
Or no, it's Scott. It's me and Scott
Okay.
running the side tournament.
Okay, well then I don't know who. I don't think I may have met Scott, but yeah, I'll slip Scott a $5 or a $10 or something. And get a first.
I mean, it's red versus blue, so.
Yep, that boom. Yeah, British and German are natural enemies.
Just natural.
That's right.
Uh,
So I mean, for an open tournament, I think that this is a very well-rounded list. You got the bases covered, and it should do well against a multitude of different lists.
and now everyone knows what my list is going to be.
Well, that's good. They needed the help. They needed the help against a tactician such as yourself.
I'd hardly say that. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you are listening on the podcast, maybe watch the video. Because we're running through we're making the list as we go. Tim, what do you think?
I think it looks pretty darn good.
So maybe check out the video. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Tim, what's your favorite podcast?
Battle rankings with Lana Meyer, of course.
If you're just finding us, Tim, when did you figure out that we had videos?
I don't know if I should be honest about this, but it was just when we were talking the other day. I didn't know that you did videos. I just thought it was just podcasts. So pleasantly surprised to be able to see Jace Pippin's face on my computer screen.
Which, I mean, I'm sure it's exciting to be able to watch.
It definitely
a
is.
new video every day or every week.
Is.